Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you all are having a great week so far and you had a great weekend, because we are all about to get very angry, potentially. That's the whole point of this radio series, so let's get right into it with another edition of Hot Take Tuesday. So the whole point of this series is to go against the grain of normalcy. For instance, if you are a fan of Italian food and someone's going to say, oh, such and such restaurant in New York is the greatest Italian food, and it's some small hole-in-the-wall Italian joint, which is probably the best Italian food you can have in a city, your response to that with a hot take would be, I think I prefer Olive Garden. I know I said that in the last episode, but that really is the definition of what a hot take is, and you guys had quite a few to say yourselves, so let's get right into it. This one's from Jeffrey Danico, 6657. Hot take: subs are not important for front of house audio. No one actually likes feeling the kick in your chest. That is not only one of the most idiotic takes I've ever read in my life, but that is actually the perfect definition of what a hot take is. That is just an idiotic opinion. Subs are extremely important because you need to hear the bass and you need to hear the low end of the kick drum, the toms. You need to hear all those sub frequencies that the tweeters and the main speakers just can't reproduce clearly. And also, if you really don't like that gut punch feeling every time the kick drum hits, why are you going to concerts? Great hot take. It's idiotic opinion, but great hot take. Ben Ryan, 1847 says, a huge hot take I have for the film industry is that Pro Tools is the industry standard. Over 500 euros a year for some film work you have, I think you meant to say fuck all chance of working on. Reaper can do all of what Pro Tools can do, and you can even format it to look exactly like Pro Tools. It's the biggest waste of time, especially for music recordings. Not exactly a hot take. It's definitely an opinion of expressing a dislike with Pro Tools, which I wholeheartedly agree. There are tons of DAWs out there that will do exactly what Pro Tools does. You don't need Pro Tools. You obviously don't need to give Avid all of your money every year. Like I said in the last episode, I use Logic Pro, and that was a one-time $200 purchase, and I still get all the new updates. Reaper is completely free, although you are being a cheap asshole if you keep clicking the I'm still reviewing button in Reaper. Stop being cheap and, support the developers who make Reaper. I've used Reaper before. It's great. We actually have Reaper on the Mac at Dingbats, and that's what we use to record the multi-tracks of the X32. And like you said, you can customize Reaper to look exactly how you want it to look. You don't need to have it look in the default state. You can customize it, which is actually a really cool feature. I wish Logic would do that. Which leads me to this hot take and, quite frankly, idiotic opinion from Prod D BYJR 2024. Not all plugins should cost money. How else are the developers of the plugins going to have the financial resources to develop new plugins unless you don't buy their current plugins? Now, occasionally a developer will release a free plugin, which is great. I know iZotope released a vocal doubler plugin, which is what I use all the time on my backing vocals. Now, that's a very neat plugin, but every plugin takes hours upon hours upon hours, months, even sometimes years to fully develop and get it working right and sounding good. So plugins should absolutely cost money, because that's how you compensate the developer for putting all their time, effort, and resources into making the plugins. That's a good hot take. All right, let's go with a couple of microphone hot takes. This one is from James Reyes 4654. Hot take: Sennheiser 385 should replace the SM58 as anyone's default mic. Honestly, the 385 is a great microphone, but it has way too much in the high end for my personal liking. And if you have a more higher pitched and higher toned voice, especially if you're a female vocal, that microphone definitely sounds a little harsh. And you need to do a little bit of EQing just to dial back the harshness. Again, it all depends on your voice. All I know is, like I said in the very first episode, if you look at Coachella and see all the SM58s that are on the stage miking up a lot of backing vocals, If it's good enough for Coachella and, you know, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it's good enough for all these humongous festivals, it's good enough for you, and you should stop hating on the SM58. But that's just me. This one's from Simon Moz NY 8587. Hey Chris, I don't know if it's a hot take, but I think the SE Electronics V7 is better than the SM58. And I'm very sad about the fact not many people use them, but I love my SM58s too. Very great mics. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you acknowledge, you know, how good the SM58 is, but I've had hit or miss issues with the V7s. Sometimes if they come in, they sound either way too hot and way too harsh in the high end, or they sound great. It all depends on the voice using them, but I've used a couple of these before and I've had hit or miss issues with them. I don't know if it's as consistently built as the SM58. I don't know. All I know is every time someone brings in a V7 into dingbats, I sometimes worry because I don't know if it's hit or miss. But again, if the right voice is working with this microphone and it's built great, it's gonna have a fantastic sound. So again, I've had really great experiences and I've had really bad experiences with the V7. It all depends on, you know, your personal experience. This one is from Jesse C. Mills. Here's another one, and I know I might lose people on this. The tambourine is a wonderful instrument and belongs on more recordings and definitely on more live drum kits. I couldn't agree more. This isn't even a hot take. It's just a very nice opinion to have. I love the tambourine. I love the way that the tambourine just brightens up any, especially if it's like a jam band session going on. Again, if you're a band that has a Fleetwood Mac type of vibe, tambourines are amazing. And if you're like a more jazzy band, oh my God, tambourines are fantastic. It's a great percussive element to have in a mix, especially if you're a drummer and you're hitting the tambourine a little bit. It's awesome. Love it. Very good take to have. All right, here comes another guitar take, guys. UKI Debeck says digital modelers are more practical than tube amps and sound just as good as them in live scenarios. This is a good one. As I've said before in the last episode, if you put time and patience into your modelers and your quote unquote fake amps, it really can sound excellent. I've heard some fantastic sounding modelers out of those Line 6 digital pedal boards where they have everything stored right there in a tiny, like, yay big board, and it sounds awesome. But again, this is up to you, the guitar player, to have patience with it and actually work with it. If you have a really good impulse response onto it, you can have a great sounding tone, and it sounds almost like a real tube amp. But in over 20 years of doing this, I can still tell the difference between a modeler and a tube amp. Tube amps just have that warmer saturation to them that just can't be beat. I'm never gonna not love a tube amp, but modelers have come a very long way, and they require a little more effort to get going and, you know, get a good tone going. But if you could do it, then God bless. You're better than half the guitar players already that use modelers. So again, time and patience. I don't think I could say those two words enough. Here's another one from a fellow sound guy, Mark Jazz Trubisky. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. 2065 says, industry standard is important at a certain level. Maybe not local, but touring is very important. Using industry standard will almost guarantee a rental house and production company will have what you were using. Using industry standard practices and standard will increase safety and allow for a smoother day when touring. I don't want to walk into a room, spend all day trying to figure out the house guy's genius wiring and configurations. Now, this isn't a hot take. This is simply sort of a disagreement with what I said in the last episode about how much I hate the term industry standard. And Mark brings up a great point that I want to address because there needs to be a very serious conversation had between the audio people on the internet and audio people who are working in this industry. We need to have a very serious conversation about attitudes and egos and what I call the sound guy dick measuring contest that never seems to end. As someone who works right now as a house guy and someone who occasionally throughout the years has guest engineered at other venues and is now getting my very first like taste of what it's really like traveling with a band and working as a traveling sound engineer. There needs to be a very serious conversation had with how touring sound guys view the house sound guys. I don't know what it is, but for the most part, a lot of traveling sound guys that I've encountered are some of the biggest egotistical jackasses I've ever met in my life. And they have this holier than thou complex about themselves where they just simply say, it's my way or you clearly don't know what you're doing. It's a really shit attitude to have. And while I've met a lot of fantastic, wonderful, genuinely awesome touring sound guys in my years working at Dingbats, there are a large amount of you who make this job not worth it. And what I mean by that is I wake up, I go to work thinking, oh, you know, a touring package is coming in. Great. They have their own sound guy. Awesome. I mean, as a house guy, that's less work for me to do, but still, I'm an extra pair of hands. I want to help out. I will ask the touring engineer coming in, hey, you know, welcome to Dingbats, blah, blah, blah. This is our system. Anything I could do to help out, just let me know. And if you need an extra pair of hands during, you know, load in, sound check, whatever, just let me know. Let me know how I can help. And most of the time, they will gladly put my ass to work. And I have no problem helping out because touring on the road is excruciatingly tiring. So I want to help out. What I'm saying is I will go above and beyond to help anyone out. There are a lot of you that have come to Dingbats and made my day completely miserable. I don't know what it is, but when you become a touring sound guy, a lot of you just have your egos go completely out of control, and it's this whole like, oh, you're just a house guy, like, yeah, and you just like shoo us away. It's a real shit attitude to have, and a lot of you have it, and I want to make a whole video on this and just like talk about my experiences with some of the really shitty sound guys I've encountered over the years. But there's a problem, and a whole slew of you seem to have a ginormous attitude problem. So again, I don't know what it is, but in your guys' defense, as someone who has gone to venues, a lot of small bars, the sound guy there is really just one of the bartenders with a small Mackie board that has a couple vocal mics on it, and that's it. So I can understand that a lot of bands and a lot of other, you know, touring sound guys look down on the house guys, but you know, we're all part of the same team here. Our job is to make the show go smoothly. We're all in the same team here. So I don't know why a lot of sound guys seem to have this, you know, dick measuring mentality about their ego, their gear, their preferences for everything, or just dealing with other sound guys. There's a serious attitude problem with fellow sound guys, and especially touring sound guys, that needs to be had. So, yeah, if you're gonna, you know, go into other people's venues and like look down on them, you're just a dick. You know, there's no other way to say it. Noob6966, hot take. The SQ5 makes no sense compared to the X32 and Wing Compact. That, guys, is going to probably be the biggest comment generator in this video, because if I were to rank all the comments that I get, as far as like how repetitive they are, easily one of the top 5, at the very least, the top 5 most repetitive comments I always get are from Allen and Heath enthusiasts about the SQ5. I even made a joke in the Mixdown Meltdown series where I went to a church that had an SQ5, and I said in the intro, finally a church that doesn't use the X32. I mean, as much as you guys harp on me about being a Mac enthusiast and, you know, swearing by Mac computers and crapping on Windows systems all the time, you guys are equally as passionate and judgy about the SQ5 and anything that's not an SQ5 or an Allen and Heath system. I used an SQ5, I've used an SQ7, I used, oh man, I forget this exact model, but it was an older one. And I've used a couple of their analog consoles. They're great, but I don't really see what makes them as no pun intended, worshipped as all the Allen and Heath people, praise them. I don't see what they're so like, cracked up to be. I've gotten great mixes on Allen and Heath systems. I've gotten great mixes on the X32, and I get great mixes right now on the Wing. So really, it's what you prefer. It's really like Mac and iPhone versus Android and PC. It both have their benefits, both have their faults. It really is whatever you prefer. In the going on, I think 4.5 years now, I've worked at Dingbats. There is an overwhelming amount of touring sound engineers or monitor engineers that use Behringer or Midas systems. I don't think I've ever seen an SQ5 or an Allen and Heath board at Dingbats. I may have maybe on like 1 or 2 occasions, and I just don't really remember exactly which bands used them. But at Dingbats, just about every single touring engineer that came in uses either an X32 or an M32, either full size or compact. And if they use a board for their monitors, it's almost all the time an X32 rack or an X32 console. So take that with what you will. And also, if I go to another Dingbats sized venue, or even a venue bigger than Dingbats, like a 1,000 or 3,000 capacity venue, almost all the time, there's at least one band on the bill that night that is using an X32 for either front of house or their monitors. I don't see, why people hold the Allen and Heath systems as in high regard as they do. I've heard mixes on just about every branded console there is. The biggest difference in what the sound is in terms of like what board's being used is the musicians on stage and the engineer mixing it. It really boils down to that. If you are a great musician and you play your instrument very well, it doesn't matter what board is at front of house, you're gonna sound great. So, again, I don't get why people are so, harshly loyal to brands. Use whatever sounds good to you in whatever budget that you have, and you'll be fine. So for my hot takes this week, it's gonna be more ranty than anything else. I drive a lot for work, for going to either my girl's house or going to see friends. I drive a lot during any calendar year. I don't know if you guys ever noticed this, but if you look, I'll try to keep my eye in focus. I don't know if you could see my eyelid right here, but half of it is missing. I have scars on my nose, and I have scars all along here. I don't know if you guys can tell with the light I got on the camera, but I have scars all over here because my face went through a windshield. What happened was I was driving my dad's old minivan out of the city, and someone, without looking, just cut me off and slammed on his brake because there was dead stop traffic in front of us. I couldn't brake in time to avoid crashing into him, so I looked quickly, and to my credit, I had really good reflexes. I steered the van and avoided hitting the guy that cut me off, but I swerved, but the van lost control, and I spun around and I crashed into the side barrier in the middle of the highway. And then behind me was a woman in a Cadillac Escalade, and not just the regular one. It was the ESV super long cab one, the enormous monstrosity one. And she hit the side of my van at full speed, and that's what sent me flying. It tore the seatbelt harness completely off, and my face went through the windshield. So that's how to quote the Joker, you wanna know I got these scars? That's how I got them. So ever since that accident, quite some time ago, I've been, I don't want to call it road rage, but it kind of is road rage. If I see people committing unfathomable sins on the road, I actually wrote down a list with all of them that like drive me crazy. I get almost uncontrollably angry if I see people doing this. There are just things that just really just get under my skin, and people who can't drive and we're not short of people who can't drive here in New Jersey and New York and, you know, the tri-state area. If the president ever makes me the motoring czar of America, my hot take this week is you deserve the harshest punishment in the world if you commit any of these driving sins. If you do any of the following, I don't care if you've been a subscriber of mine since day one, I hate you. Start off right off the bat with probably the most egregious of all driving sins, and that's driving with your high beams on at night when you don't need to have your high beams on. Or if it's raining or snowing out and you drive with your high beams on. You don't need your high beams on unless you are in the middle of buttfuck nowhere and there are no streetlights. I don't know why there's I don't know why a lot of people tend to do this, but nothing pisses me off more on the road, and that's why this is the first thing that I wrote on this list. Nothing gets under my skin more than people who drive with their high beams on at all times. The headlights on modern cars are insanely bright LED lights already, and driving with your high beams on, you are the scummiest of scum, and I hate your guts. Now let's go in the complete opposite direction here, and another sin that just like almost at the tip top of my shit list here, driving with your lights off at night. Most modern cars have automatic headlights, and all you got to do is just turn that switch to auto, and your car has a sensor that it can tell when it's dark enough out to just turn on your headlights and your taillights automatically. A lot of people keep their headlights off, but most modern cars have like the parking lights or whatever on, but they don't have their taillights on. So a lot of people tend to drive at night with their auto always on headlights, and they think that their headlights are on and all their lights are on, but they're not. Their taillights are out. And especially if you have a black car, if I'm coming up behind you, I can't see you if it's dark out and you are in a black car and you don't have your taillights on. I can't see you. You're going to cause an accident. Why are people so fucking stupid that they can't turn on their lights? I don't know. But those are easily 1A and 1B. Driving with your high beams on at all times and just driving without your lights on, period. Sin number 3, tailgating. There is no acceptable situation where I can see your nose hair in my rearview mirror if you are riding my ass way too close to me, especially if I'm doing the speed limit or what everyone in here in Jersey does, which is 5 or 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. If I'm doing the speed limit or faster and I can still count the amount of hair follicles that are in your beard, I will purposely slow down and drive as slow as possible to just make your day more inconvenient. I hate you, and you shouldn't be driving. Especially if you're tailgating, you're just gonna cause an accident. Sin number 4, you're driving way too slowly. Stop driving too slowly. If you are driving so slow on the road that there's at least 4 more cars behind you that are like going bumper to bumper almost because you're driving way too slowly, get the fuck out of the way, let traffic pass you, and then when it's clear, continue driving as slowly as you want. Just stop slowing up the flow of traffic because you can't do the speed limit. It drives me crazy. Sin number 5, I'm gonna call this the Jersey slide, but this is when you are all the way in the left lane and your exit is approaching. You put on your signal, or you don't even put on your signal, and you cross all of the lanes at once without a care in the world because you gotta make your exit. Instead of doing the responsible thing and moving over slowly to get to the right lane, like 2 miles back before your exit, instead what you're doing is at the very last second, you're cutting over all the lanes of traffic, cutting people off, potentially causing an accident, and I hate it when people do that. I call it the Jersey slide, but it's when you do that. Be responsible, get to your exit, or if you miss your exit for whatever reason, take the next exit. You have GPS. It will route you another way. This is one that just gets under my skin, and it really just it makes me scream at the top of my lungs at people. Not understanding what the yield sign means, or having no care in the world of who has right of way. For example, if you are merging onto the highway and your entrance lane clearly says yield, if I'm coming up here and you're merging and you just cut right in without forcing me to slam on my brakes, I have right of way. There's been a couple times where I rolled down my window and I screamed at the top of my lungs, yield, don't you read? Yield. I don't know how you passed your theory test. I don't know how you passed your driving test, but you shouldn't have a license if you don't know what the yield sign means, or if you think, oh, I'll just come right in and merge, who cares? Just fuck you. These people are my favorite. The people who take up more than one parking space in a parking lot to quote unquote protect their car. Usually it's by a BMW or an Audi driver, although some of you Mercedes drivers do this too, but usually it's a BMW driver, or if you drive an obscenely large, stupid pickup truck, you feel like you need to take up more than one space because you are overcompensating for having a tiny PP. If you feel like you need to protect your car, park in the back of the lot then, or park in an area where people aren't parking and walk. Don't take up more than one prime parking space because you feel like you need to protect your little baby. Look, I love my cars. I'm a car enthusiast. I take care of my vehicles, and it would really piss me off if someone nicked my car in a parking lot, but I don't take up more than one parking space. I park like a normal human being, and you should too. It drives me crazy. And usually the biggest, committers of this sin are you BMW drivers. So if I see a BMW parking in a lot, I'm already assuming that you're going to take up more than one space like an asshole. Same as when you park in handicapped spaces when you're not handicapped. I don't know why people do this. Again, mostly BMW and Audi drivers do this. I don't know why you don't have the little handicap sticker that you put on your mirror to park in a very valuable piece of real estate for your car. You're clearly not handicapped in any way. You shouldn't be parking in a handicapped space. When I see people parking in handicapped spaces, I fight every urge I can to slash their tires. Nothing I want to do more than slash your tires if you park in a handicapped space and you don't have a handicap sticker. This one drives me crazy. So depending on where you live, because some countries you drive on the left side of the road. Here in America, we drive on the right side of the road. When you're in a single lane road, it's one lane going this way, one lane going this way, and you need to make a left. What drives me crazy is when you put your signal on and you wait in the center, or I don't know why people do this. You make your car go right a little bit to then make the left turn. When all you need to do is move over a little bit to the left and let traffic pass you. That's what you're supposed to do. At least that's what I was taught in driving school here in New Jersey. You're supposed to move over enough to the left where you're not blocking oncoming traffic, but you have enough space where traffic can pass you on the right. You're obstructing the flow of traffic, and especially on busy roads, it's going to be a while before you can make your left turn. I don't know why. You don't move over to the left slightly to let traffic pass you, or people who feel like they need to make the slight right to make the left turn. Modern cars, and in fact, almost all cars, unless you drive one of those boats from the 70s or 80s, they can make sharp enough left turns where you don't need to make the right to make the left. I don't get it. Move the fuck over a couple of inches so that traffic can pass you. This doesn't piss me off, it just makes me laugh at you. But if you drive an EV and you have one of those douchey, cringe, pro EV vanity plates on it, like there is, and it's always Tesla drivers, but one time I saw a Tesla and the license plate vanity read no gas. And there must be a lot of people that tried to write no gas. I'm sure there's one lucky asshole that has no gas, as in spelt with the letters NOGAS. So there was one I found. It was N0 GA55, and the guy caught me laughing at him because I was coming up behind him and I was gonna make the right, and I saw it out of the corner of my eye and I just start laughing, and the guy looked at me and he flipped me off. But it's just you're laughable if you. I don't care if you drive a Tesla, but if you get a douchey vanity plate, you deserve to be mocked. Like, again, I'm picking on you BMW guys, but I saw one just today. There was a guy, obviously a businessman type. He was wearing a suit, and his license plate spelt out fund manager. It was FND MGR or something like that. but it's spelt Fund Manager, and he was driving a 5 Series BMW. It's a beautiful car, but the vanity plate just made your douchebaggery just like skyrocket a little bit. I don't like vanity plates, especially when the vanity plates don't go to any charitable donations. You're literally just paying the state more money to be an asshole and like show off your ego with your car. Just stop doing it. This one's gonna piss off a lot of you because a lot of you drive these types of vehicles, but I can't stand when people buy a stupid huge SUV or pickup truck to carry shit when you and I both know that you are not driving your obscenely large SUV to carry shit. There's a beautiful thing called a station wagon and a minivan. If you have kids you need to tow around, drive those. They're better for the environment. They're better on fuel economy. You can actually carry a whole lot more shit in a minivan than you can in a Chevy Suburban. And there's a whole lot of other reasons why SUVs in general are just dangerous in every aspect of driving. I'll link a video down below of a guy named Not Just Bikes. I don't agree with everything he says, and a lot of his videos make him very like smug about living in a city and not driving a car. But this video that he did release goes into the study and stats and all the information about why SUVs in general and the people that mostly buy them are just dangerous in every aspect of driving. And finally, this is for you bikers out there. First off, stop driving like an asshole. All of you on sports bikes that go at a million miles an hour on the highway. Every time I see one of you zoom past me, I hope that you crash and you suffer horrible injuries, because why are you speeding that much on the road? Lane splitting and cutting around the cars that are in the lane should be illegal everywhere. Most states it is illegal. I know New Jersey, it's, I don't know if it's illegal in New Jersey, but I do know in New York it is. And don't get me wrong, I love motorcycles. One of my goals this year is to get a motorcycle and pass my license and maybe get a bike by the end of the year. So I love motorcycles, and I love the idea of riding a motorcycle. And even last summer, I went to the Indian Larry benefit rally in Brooklyn. Tons of Harleys, tons of custom bikes. It was awesome. But on the way in, my buddies who I was driving into the city with, some asshole on a bike was speeding and doing lane splitting, knocked the mirror right off his car. And then the biker had the audacity to be like, "Oh man, you were making it unsafe for me." Like, bikers, if you want us to respect you on the road, don't be a fucking asshole while riding your bike. And then we'll, take you a little more seriously. That was a very long rant I went on, but I just had to get a lot of that off my chest. So, yeah, guys, let me know what all of your hot takes are. It could be about anything and everything in the world. If you have a hot take about anything in the music industry, it could be about movies, it could be about TV shows, pop culture, food, you name it. Let me know your scorching hot takes, and I will read them in the next video. Until then, take care, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.